Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Real Rendezvous podcast. I'm Brett, that's Hunter. Hunter, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
And, today we're doing a movie review. We're hitting you with Indiana Jones and the Raider of the Lost Ark, released in 1981, directed by Steven Spielberg. But before we jump into that, Hunter, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Doing real good. Got the weekend off. Ready to dive into the weekend and not do a whole lot of anything.
Yeah.
Caught up on Peacemaker. I know that I was a little standoffish about it originally. These last 3 episodes have made me a fan.
Yeah. I was pretty much on board from the very beginning, but I will say that they definitely, they are, the last few episodes have been better than those original 3 that they premiered with.
Yeah, like I didn't even like really find any humor in it in the first couple episodes. And it's funny too, like I was telling you whenever we went to dinner earlier tonight, I thought the whole like opening sequence was like super cringe the first episode or 2, but it's totally grown on me.
Oh, I was
like now I laugh my ass off at it.
I was completely on board,
And like you said,
and Dad didn't like it either, but I was like, no, this is it. This is what it is.
Like you said, the song is a total fucking banger.
So
too.
good.
Randomly.
Do you want to taste it by Wigwam? Shout out Wigwam.
I think it's Wigwam.
Wigwam?
I don't know. It could be Wigwam, but a wigwam is like what Native Americans used to live in. So.
Oh, okay. Well, shout out Wigwam.
Shout out Wig. Pronunciation still yet to be determined.
Pronunciation pending.
But so Peacemaker, it's all right, and we better not dive headfirst into Book of Boba Fett. But let's just say, well, we better make sure we don't spoil anything.
Yeah.
Anybody that listens to this that has been on the fence about Book of Boba Fett, which I have big time. I was pretty pissed off at this show, like 3-4 episodes in. The last 2 episodes have been absolute home runs. I've loved everything and then some about the last 2 episodes.
Yeah,
so,
it definitely picked up. It really did.
I mean, I know we're a spoiler podcast. I don't know if I want to spoil the show.
No, we'll keep ongoing stuff under wraps.
Yeah, we'll just keep the spoilers to the
movie at hand.
Yeah, but definitely a big fan of the last 2 episodes of Book of Boba Fett for various reasons. Some of it is slight spoiler here. Some of it is just we have some involvement from classic characters that we all love and drool over. Also, there are some new characters introduced that are really, really badass. Yeah. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Leaving it at that.
Other than that, Brett, how you been? Anything crazy
good.
Going on?
Nothing too terribly out of the ordinary. I start my job at Walmart on Tuesday.
Hell yeah.
So that's going to be fun. I got orientation. Not today, of course, because we film these in advance. But for those of you listening at home, today marks the day that the Uncharted movie has hit theaters.
Oh, yes.
Which is, I'm cautiously optimistic. I have my reservations about it going in. I'm going to try and leave those at the door and watch it for what it is. I'm just really hoping they get... Like, I don't even need it to be great. I just need it to be good. Anything
I
but
agree.
bad.
I agree with all your reservations about this film. But with that said, I think I'm a little more optimistic than you are.
Probably.
Which I don't know why. I just think based on the trailers thus far,
yeah, the trailers do look good. I don't know, man. I'm having a really hard time getting behind Tom as Nate. Not to get too far into it, but that is my biggest reservation or thing I'm worried about.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, it seems like it is just a big eggs in our basket cash grab. You can put Tom Holland in anything and it's going to sell, which is probably right.
He's their golden boy.
At the same time, Uncharted is a property that I think both of us would agree can be really awesome theatrically.
Oh, 100%. And that's not a dig at Tom Holland. I love Tom Holland. I think he's an amazing actor. I just, Why
do we need a little baby Nathan Drake? We don't.
And then, I'm worried because they're saying it's a prequel, and it's basically just, from the trailers, it's just Uncharted 4 and 3 mashed into one movie, which is like the latest point in his life. But that's a discussion for another day.
I know we're getting a little too involved in the wrong action adventure here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little topical.
Yeah, it definitely is, and we'll get into that here. Speaking of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, as you said, this came out in 1981. You were still, what, in your early teens in 1981?
Yeah. I was, I was roughing it on the streets.
Yeah.
A nice 14 years old at the time.
Yeah, you were still struggling.
I was a ways off in 1981.
No, so obviously this movie's pretty old by our standards, but it is, in fact, a classic. This was directed by Steven Spielberg. Starring Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, Paul Freeman, and John Rhys Davies. Could be pronounced Rice. Man, we're going to have to work on our pronunciation.
Yeah.
It's just spelled oddly. R-H-Y-S. It seems a little too creative for its own good.
Well, there's an actor named... He plays the Lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Riz Ahmed.
No. Rhys Ifans. Or Rice Ifans.
Wait, then who's Riz? No,
Riz Ahmed.
Riz Ahmed is in Venom as Riot. Okay, that's my bad.
I believe he's also in Rogue One.
I think he is.
Yes.
I think he is.
I can't remember his character's name though.
I don't know if they're spelled the same way, but I'm gonna say it's Riz.
Regardless, yeah, it's just kind of an odd name. Maybe it's a British thing. I'm not sure. Regardless, that rounds out the meat of the cast. Like I said, directed by Spielberg. This movie is also written by Star Wars brain master. That's not a term.
It is now.
It is now. George Lucas. Also written by Lawrence Kasdan. I didn't look up his credits, but Lawrence Kasdan also, I know for a fact, was one of the writers and I believe directed Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, okay.
So... Spielberg, he's got all his homies dabbling in this one here. This movie had a budget of $18 million. That's estimated, which I guess for 1981 is probably a pretty hefty chunk of change.
Yeah. How much? What was the budget on it?
$18 million is what it was budgeted for. And then it grossed, just in the U.S. alone, $248 million.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought the $18 million was how much it made.
No.
Okay, my bad.
No, its budget to be produced was $18 million.
Okay.
And then its gross in the U.S. was $248. And then worldwide...
That makes more sense.
Yeah. Worldwide, it was $389 million. So almost $400 billion worldwide. Yeah. Which, I'm not very political or up and at it with inflation. But I'd say that $18 million by 1981 standards was a very big...
Yeah. I think it's safe to say.
Very big budget.
Yeah.
But it definitely made some money back. Lawrence Kasdan did the screenplay in this, too. So, like I said, he also directed Empire Strikes Back. Maybe the best sequel of all time. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot of more background info that I want to get into. There is more that we can if you want. I can dabble a little in the sequels here. I know earlier I said Temple of Doom is probably my favorite in the franchise.
Yeah, you did say that.
To give anybody a little bit of background on Brett, this is his first ever viewing of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
As most of the movies we've covered thus far have been.
It's funny, like, I just feel like you, even though you're 18 years old, I feel like you're a very nuanced, smart person whose opinion I value when we talk about movies.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, really brushing you up here. But just to tear you down right now and say,
man.
You ain't seen shit, son.
I really haven't. It is surprising the amount of just like genre defining or just
Classics.
Like classic movies that I just have not seen.
Which I
still haven't seen the original Jurassic Park.
It'll be done. It will be done. We'll get him on with Jurassic Park. But you've seen Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, you're 18, so we got time. But this movie produced 3 sequels, and the most recent one was...
the 5th on the way, isn't it?
Yes. I don't know how far into production it is. I'm sure it's still in pre-production. I don't even know if there's an established release date. And personally, they should just let laying dogs lie, in my opinion. You know, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was not good, but it wasn't so bad that they need to save face or anything. So I don't really see any reason to make another one. Harrison Ford's got to be up there in age.
Yeah.
But for 4 films, even though, like I said, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull isn't that great of a film, it's still a pretty good franchise. I would say really good. I wouldn't say pretty good, really good. And like I said, it's a classic. A lot of people view this movie and say that it's one of the best action adventures of all time. But not to give anything away too early, but I will say that my perspective of this film changed on this viewing for our review. And
I kind of accidentally spun his whole world around when I was talking about.
I don't know if you spun it around, but you kind of shook it just a little bit. So I don't want to say you totally influenced my opinion, but and that's one of the great things about getting to watch movies together and view them in this light.
Yeah,
you get to kind of dismantle them, and like I said, I value your opinion, so it's interesting to see what you. Obviously, somebody 10 years younger than me also would view this movie as.
Especially with just fresh eyes, having never seen it prior.
Exactly. So with that said, we're going to try and dive into spoilers here and dismantle this synopsis. It's pretty lengthy, Brett, so if I start stumbling or anything here, straighten me out. But with that said, we open in the spring of 1936 as an exploration party penetrates through the thick jungle of South American continent. When the group's leader stops to examine map fragments, another of the group pulls out a gun to shoot him in the back. The leader, hearing the click as he cocks the pistol's hammer, pulls out a whip and disarms the man, sending him running back through the jungle. At this point, the leader steps into the light and shows that it's Dr. Henry Indiana Jones, played by Harrison Ford, an archaeologist with a reputation for heavy-handed field work that takes him around the globe in search of ancient treasures. I'm going to stop right there. I hope I don't do this with every fucking paragraph on this thing. But, so right off the bat there, a couple things I want to pick out. I did not know that Indiana was just his nickname. I thought that was his actual biological name. You found that out.
I had asked him before we had started. I was like, is Indiana his name, or is it just what they call him? And I did some Googling, and his name is in fact Henry.
So fun fact, yeah, it's not him. And then secondly, it introduces small snippets of his theme right here, which we'll dive into that a little bit more later talking about this movie. But John Williams scored this, and the Indiana Jones theme song is probably just as iconic as Star Wars or anything else. And that all stems from John Williams. He's just one of the top 4 or 5 best film composers of all time.
He also scored the Star Wars movies, yeah?
He did. Well, he did Star Wars, Jurassic Park. I don't have all of his filmography pulled up here. I'm not going to close out this synopsis to find it. I'm pretty sure any Spielberg directorial product, John Williams scored. So, and you could probably say the same about George Lucas. But he didn't really direct a lot of films.
No. He was the brain master, but
he's wrote a lot.
Yeah,
but he did the prequels, Star Wars prequels.
He directed those?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, he has a lot of writing credits. But so, anyways, Indy and his remaining companion Sapito enter the dank and oppressively vast cave where a competitor of his, Forrestal, disappeared. Inside the cave are several traps rigged by the ancient people who had a small, valuable statue hidden in here. Jones finds the antechamber where the statue is atop a pedestal and is protected by an elaborate system of pressure-sensitive stones that release darts through the walls, and also a couple other booby traps that are light-sensitive. As he approaches the idol, he takes a bag of sand, judges the weight, and replaces the idol with the sand quickly. noticing that nothing happens whenever he takes the idol off the weight balance on the pedestal. As he turns around, the weight isn't quite precise and sinks the pedestal as the chamber begins to collapse. Jones runs, narrowly avoiding the darts. When he arrives at the pit that he already had to go across with his whip, Sapito already gets across it and convinces Indy to throw him the idol. After this happens, Sapito turns on Indy and leaves him for dead. Indy's able to get across the pit still and comes up on Sapito's dead body and retrieves the idol. At this point, a giant boulder comes falling out behind him, and he's sprinting out of the cave and narrowly escapes the boulder. And as he comes out of the cave and falls out into the jungle, there he's met by a group of Javitos, the local tribesmen, that are led by Dr. Bellick, which is kind of portrayed as Indy's rival.
Yeah, I was going to say rival.
He's definitely an antagonist throughout the film, but even prior to like the story that this film conveys, you can tell that
they let us know that they got some history.
Yeah, Bellick has been his rival for some standing time. So after this, Bellick ends up taking the idol from Indy, and Indy gets up and sprints away, and Bellick tells the Javitos to chase after Indy. And so Indy's running through this forest, getting shot at with blow darts and having spears chucked at him and bows and arrows. And he's able to get back to his buddy and jump on the plane that they have, a little buoy plane. And they fly away, narrowly escaping from the Javitos.
They have some rough aim. He ran in a straight line. Not one of them hit him.
That's something I want to say here real quick is this whole opening sequence, the escape from the cave, the giant boulder, all the booby traps. This is all like tropes that have been redone, rehashed, mocked, not just in other movies, in video games, and novels, all kinds of things. That whole escape sequence is...
especially the boulder. I mean, everyone... Like, even if you don't know a ton... Like me, even if you don't know a ton about Indiana Jones, you know about the boulder.
Right. And like you said, it's kind of funny because, I mean, realistically, he's dying by one of these things. But then we wouldn't have the movie, you know? So...
That's just the prowess of Harrison Ford.
It's because he had the stubble. That's what it was.
Yeah. That's what kept him safe.
It's like
a power-up.
Samson in the Bible, when he loses his hair, he's screwed. But he when he's got the long hair, he's invincible. Indy, when he's got his stubble, he's good to go. So back stateside, Indy teaches an archaeology class and is still upset over losing the statue, which he surmises Bellick is taking to Marrakesh to sell on the black market. So right there, it tells us that Bellick, even though he is portrayed as loving archaeology, history, and things just like Indy, he's kind of a scumbag and still uses it for his own monetary gain by selling stuff on the black market, which I love in like movies and pop culture. The black market is always portrayed as like this thing that exists. And I'm sure it really does somewhere, somehow, but it's never elaborated on other than just saying the black market.
It's like, this is where we sell things. Please don't ask any more questions.
It's like a MacGuffin. So anyways, Indy's friend Marcus Brody, played by Denholm Elliott, dashes the hope by informing Indy that 2 Army intelligence officers want to talk to him about Abner Ravenwood, his former teacher, who was his friend until Indy broke up with his daughter, Marion. The Army officers are concerned because they've intercepted a German cable concerning a mammoth archaeological dig. Man, I wish I didn't have to say that word so many times.
Archaeological?
I keep finding new ways to mispronounce it reading this. Anyways, archaeological dig in the Egyptian desert not far from Cairo. When they read the cable, Indy and Marcus realize the Nazis have discovered Tanis, an ancient city long since buried in a gigantic sandstorm in 980 BC, and the possible burial site of the Ark of the Covenant. The ark was built by ancient Hebrews to hold the stone tablets on which Moses inscribed the Ten Commandments. Indy quickly explains to them the need for an object mentioned in the communique, the headpiece to the staff of Ra, which will reveal the location of the ark of the Nazi excavation. The army men are impressed by Indy and Marcus's knowledge of the ark, but Indy tells them that the man most qualified is Abner Ravenwood, who has been living somewhere in Asia for several years. When Indy shows the agents a picture of the ark, it depicts it using unimaginable destructive power. Marcus also says very gravely that an army that carries the ark into battle is invincible. So we get a little exposition dump there, and it kind of portrays Indy as being this he really loves his job, for lack of better words. He loves history, like what we said, and he's kind of just the counterproduct of what Bellick is. Yeah. As far as...
Indy's in it for the passion, Bellick's in it for the money.
Right. So we jump to Nepal, and we get an awesome,
Quite
iconic...
literally, we jump to Nepal.
We get the awesome, iconic transition sequence where it shows the airplane flying with the red line dotting across the map. Brett's running his hand.
Oh, yeah. I forgot
drawing
they can't
said
see
red
me.
line.
I was... My bad. I was running my finger across the air like I was the red line.
As we all would. So in Nepal, Indy goes to a bar that is run by Marion Ravenwood because he needs the headpiece for the staff of Ra, and he knows Marion either has it or did have it. Marion, still bitter over their breakup, nonetheless accepts when Indy offers her $3,000 and the promise of more when they return stateside. She's cryptic about the headpiece, and after Indy leaves, she reveals that she'd been wearing the headpiece on a chain around her neck the whole time. She looks it over thoughtfully and places it on a small wooden sculpture on a table in her bar. Tote and several Sherpa heavies enter the bar and hold Marion hostage. I love the way they word this, Sherpa heavies.
Is Tote that guy's name?
Yep.
I called him Evil George Costanza because that's what he looks like.
I don't know if throughout this whole film they ever once actually say
I was
what
going to
his
say,
name
because
is.
I didn't think they said what his name... He looks a lot like Arnim Zola from the first Captain... Like, hat and everything.
Yeah, it might as well just be evil Nazi henchman, because that's...
Yeah, he really...
And even just like the way he talks and stuff, it's like so like stereotyped. And Sherpa heavies... I like whoever wrote this.
Pretty sure I fought those guys in Wolfenstein.
Yeah. I like whoever wrote this. The Sherpa heavies is just some extra arm, extra strength. Some local Nepalians wearing Sherpas jackets. They all have Fu Manchus. So anyways, Tote comes in and starts to ask Marion for the piece. Marion is really standoffish with him, and after not wanting to play games with her, Tote begins to try to torture her. At this point, Indy returns and starts a gunfight, which ends up knocking a log over in the fireplace, and the building begins to burn down. Tote finds the headpiece laying on the ground and tries to grab it, but it ends up burning his bare hand, so he ends up running outside and sticking his hand in the snow. Outside of the burning tavern, Marion and Indy escape, and she tells Indy that she's going to be his partner in this adventure until he can pay her. So after this, the two fly to Egypt to meet up with Indy's pal, Sala, played by John Rhys Davies, one of the country's most successful excavators, who is working on the Nazi site that Tote works for, and reveals that the Nazis are aided by a French archaeologist, Bellick. Though the dig has uncovered much of Tanis, Indy knows that they'll never find the Ark's location without the headpiece. Sala says he knows a man who can read the ancient inscriptions that give the precise measurements of the staff. I want to touch base here a little bit, because I just explained French archaeologist, Bellick.
Yeah.
And I believe this was a qualm. This is one of the things that you've brought up that I never realized before. But this dude at no point sounds fucking French at all.
Bellick, is French in exposition only.
Yeah, I don't notice the accent.
He's British at best. And even sometimes it's not even that.
And then we look up where the actor's actually from, and he's from Illinois. So he's not.
I thought Marion's actress was from Illinois. Because I thought that's the one we looked up.
Well, let's go ahead and touch base on that real quick, too. Marion has an accent that we don't understand what it is, coming in and out throughout the entire film.
Yeah, it's very... to me, it sounds like Colombian, like Spanish a little bit. But she just, drops it in it, in lines. She will start a line in an accent and then finish it without one. And it's very jarring, and it caught me off guard a few times.
I don't know if maybe that was something they, originally had more hashed out, and then it got edited out and nobody caught it.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't know a lot about accents. So if anyone has a Colombian accent and that's a thing that happens when they talk, then by all means. But I think it might have just been not too clear on what she was supposed to sound like, and she probably wasn't very good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pick apart Karen Allen's acting in this movie because I didn't think she was bad.
No, she was her acting was great. It was just that aspect of it that kind of fell flat and was kind of funny at points.
Yeah, that it's funny that they had two people in this film that they just didn't know what to do with their language, how they wanted to sound. So, anyways, we'll carry on. I lost my place. Oh, yeah. Later, while they're shopping in the Cairo Bazaar, Indy and Marion are attacked by sword-wielding Arabics working with the Nazis. Indy fights them off, but in the confusion, Marion ends up trapped in a basket and taken by two of them. The effort to track her down is held up by a man brandishing a sword, which leads to an iconic scene where Indy just shoots him and continues on trying to find Marion. Soon, Indy spots a basket carried to a truck filled with explosives and is fired on to where he can't get to the basket. The Nazi commander orders the Arabics to take off, but Indy shoots them and the truck crashes, exploding and destroying the basket. Tore up over the potential death of Marion. He thinks she was in the basket in the truck. Indy is drowning his sorrows with a bottle of whiskey at a nearby tavern, and then is met up with the Nazi agents who escorted him to a table where Bellick is sitting there. Bellick gleefully talks about trying to find the Ark, and Indy, no longer caring whether he lives or dies, reaches for his sidearm to try and kill Bellick. This is broken up by the Arabics, as Saleh also has his brood of children run in and stops the Arabics from shooting Indy, and they escort Indy out of the tavern. As Indy's back at Saleh's place, Saleh takes him to see a shaman who is reading the headpiece's inscriptions after both men have learned that Bellick and his Nazi aide, Colonel Dietrich, played by Wolf Collar, great name, have obtained a copy of the headpiece. Neither man is aware that it is a duplicate traced from Tote's burned hand. That's something I never caught.
Yeah, did they say that and we missed it, or because I don't remember them explaining how he got the duplicate? Because I was a little confused on that.
Yeah, there's no scene that actually portrays. If they did, it was quick and I missed it. There's no scene that actually portrays when this duplicate's made, or how it's made or traced. Well, once again, that comes to something we'll discuss later as a potential negative in this film. So anyways, the shaman reveals two critical facts. First, that the headpiece gives the precise height of the staff of Ra, and second, that the staff the Nazis used was too long because the other side of the headpiece instructs to subtract from the height that was stated on the front side. So their excavation is over a mile away from the Ark's actual burial site, which is known as the Well of Souls. Infiltrating the mammoth site, Indy is lowered into an underground room containing precisely detailed miniature of the city. Using the headpiece, he identifies the precise location of the Well of Souls. Sneaking further around the gigantic Nazi camp, Indy is shocked to find Marion alive but bound and gagged. Indy starts to free her, But when she reveals that the Nazis keep asking about him and what he knows, he realizes he can't cut her loose without revealing his presence to the Nazis. I want to back up just a little bit here. Some of this exposition with the shaman scene was also the same scene where somebody makes an attempt on Indy's life with the dates.
Yes.
I think we might have been a little too caught up with the bad dates to pay attention to this scene. That's in case anybody was wondering. That's a plug for Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, where he in that game he quotes this film. He says bad dates,
which is just the whole Uncharted franchise is basically sort of like an homage and a love letter to movies like Indiana Jones.
Right.
And so I did think that was really cool that it was like directly referenced with that line in Uncharted 4.
Yeah, that was like probably one of my single favorite parts of Uncharted 4, which Uncharted 4, as we've already discussed ad nauseum earlier tonight, is the best one in the game, or the best game in the series, rather. Anyways, late that afternoon, Indy and Sala sneak a digging party of Sala's friends up to the actual location of the Well of Souls. Late into the night, they finally reveal the roof of the chamber, and to Indy's horror, is filled with dangerous asps and cobras and other kinds of snakes.
It's established in the opening when when he finally is escaping from the people that were working with Bollock, and he gets in the plane with his friend. Jacques is what he said his name was, who doesn't show up for the rest of the movie, by the way. He's just for that opening scene.
Throwaway character.
But he jumps in the plane, and in his seat is this giant python snake, and he's yelling. He's like, "I hate snakes! I hate them!" And Jacques is just like, "Oh, that's my pet Reggie." Which I thought was cool because I have a pet snake.
What a name for a snake.
Yeah, Reggie. I do dig that.
Like if you ever get another snake, just name it John. Tim.
Just a guy's name.
It's like the most boring. Chad. Name it Chad.
My snake's name is Daxter, for anyone that was wondering.
Extremely creative.
After
10 out of 10.
Yeah, named after Daxter from Jack and Daxter fame.
You named your snake Daxter after somebody else named Daxter.
Yeah, also an animal.
What kind of animal is Daxter?
He's an ottsel.
An ottsel. Man.
Which ties us back in to Uncharted because they're both made by Naughty Dog, and Nathan Drake's gun holster is ottsel branded.
Really?
No, sorry. His wetsuit in the opening of Uncharted 1 is ottsel branded.
Okay. Yeah. Shout out Naughty Dog. I'm a big fan of the Jack franchise and Uncharted. I have never played The Last of Us. Nobody burned me at the snake at the stake. Nobody burned me at the stake for that.
Nobody burned me at the snake. Got snakes on the mind.
I know.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Oh man, they're killing me. So anyways, Indy clears an area of the snakes with burning torches and lowers himself into the chamber and burns away many of the snakes with some gasoline. Sala follows, and the two eventually find the gigantic stone chest containing the Ark. They remove it and place it into a wooden crate. Just after Sala hoists himself out, the rope is then thrown back into the hole, and Belloc appears with Dietrich. Belloc brags about again stealing Indy's find and how he'll seal him in the chamber to die. Before the roof is closed, Tote throws Marion into the chamber over Belloc's protest. It doesn't touch base on this, but while Marion is captured by the Nazis, Belloc kind of grows fond of Marion, and I don't want to say he shows regret working for the Nazis because he never really does. He kind of starts to show a little bit that he does have that passion for being an archaeologist and history and finding things not for other people's gain, but just for the fact and sake of knowledge. And I think he does just kind of want to get in Marion's pants. But
100%.
Marion is a looker, though. We both agreed on this earlier.
What was her name?
Karen Allen.
Karen Allen.
She's got this...
a lovely lady.
She's got this cute combination of like really pretty blue eyes with freckles and dark hair. While Marion and Indy fight off the snakes, Indy notices a wall that has holes in it that snakes are crawling through. He climbs a mammoth statue. They like to use the word mammoth in this synopsis.
I was going to say...
Whoever wrote this. It's like throwing me off. Like, there are no mammoths in this movie at all.
I was just about to say, I realized now that they used it to mean size. But when you read it for the first time, I was like, wasn't it a statue of Anubis?
Yeah, it's definitely a statue of Anubis.
Yeah.
He climbs this big-ass Anubis statue and with all his might breaks it from its foundation and sends it crumbling into and through the wall that he saw that had holes in it. The two find an opening to the surface and discover a Nazi airfield at the excavation camp where a Nazi flying wing is waiting to fly the Ark out. The two sneak up to the plane, but Indy is attacked by a mechanic, and then a really badass fight scene ensues where a giant burly German soldier comes over and...
Soda Popinski.
Yeah, he's got like the old school like bare knuckle look with the big... twisty mustache. And
Soda Popinski is a Punch-Out character that this guy looks exactly like.
I'm glad you elaborated, because if you didn't get the hint, I didn't know who the hell you were talking about. No?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a character from the Nintendo game Punch-Out.
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never played that. I mean,
it's pretty good.
I've heard it's like fighting Mike Tyson is one of like the hardest bosses from that time period.
It's ridiculous. And then they lost the rights to Mike Tyson, and then his name was Mr. Dream.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Was he like a bullet sponge, like before bullet sponge was a thing?
Mm-hmm.
A punch sponge?
Yeah, you had to hit him so many times.
So he ends up getting into a fist fight with Soda Popinski and ends up thwarting him by basically just letting him fall backwards into the propeller for the airplane. In all this chaos, there is a big, what is it, like a fueling station?
Yeah.
Where some fuel ends up spilling, and they end up blowing up the goddamn airplane. After this happens, they run away and are able to escape when all the rest of the excavation site comes to check out the burning plane. Dietrich orders his men to transport the Ark by truck to Cairo. When Sala finds Indy and Marion hiding, he is overjoyed that they're alive and tells them of Dietrich's plan. Indy takes a horse and pursues the convoy, seizing the truck containing the Ark and surviving a brutal chase and fight with Nazi soldiers to drive the Ark to safety. In the melee, Indy forces Dietrich and Bellick's car off the road, delaying their pursuit. He and Marion board a tramp steamer. A tramp steamer. That's a term.
Is that the boat? Okay.
The little steamboat that they use to attempt to cross the Mediterranean Sea, which is hilarious to me that a steamboat could cross the Mediterranean. But I guess that could happen. I guess that did happen. Anyways, they take the steamer that will take them to a safer location, but are intercepted by a Nazi submarine. And the ship's captain tells Bellick and Dietrich to take the Ark, but leave Marion behind for them to keep, but Dietrich takes Marion anyway aboard the sub and along with the Ark and begins to drive away. Indy suddenly appears on the submarine as it leaves and boards it while the ship's crew from the steamer cheer him on. The sub crosses the Mediterranean and arrives at a small island in the Aegean. I don't know what the Aegean is. Aegean? Aegean?
Aegean Sea. I think it's pronounced Aegean, and I think it's the ocean.
The Aegean Sea.
Because this is when he's on the U-boat, right?
But this island's in the Mediterranean, so maybe it's like the Aegean Islands.
It might be, yeah.
Man, we should have brushed up on our geographical knowledge here.
I was gonna mention when we get to the end that I'm not a huge history guy.
I mean, this is globetrotting. Like we should have known this. Yeah. We should have got out the social studies book.
Yeah.
Anyways, they get to this Nazi German naval yard that's on this small island. Indy sees Marion being escorted off the submarine and knocks out a sentry, stealing his uniform. Bellick, Dietrich, Todt, and Marion all march inland on this island. When they enter a canyon, Indy holds them all at bay with a rocket launcher, threatening to destroy the Ark. But Bellic calls Indy's bluff, knowing Indy wants to know what the Ark contains just as much as he does. Indy finds he can't carry out his threat and is then captured. At an elaborate ceremony atop the mountain on the inside of this island, Indy and Marion are tied to a pole and can only watch as the Ark is opened, but it contains nothing but sand, the remains of the stone tablets. But no sooner as it is opened, all these spirits suddenly appear and start pouring out of the Ark. Indy, remembering an ancient code that requires people to close their eyes and not look at the now freed spirits, yells for Marion to do the same. The two withstand the mayhem that ensues as the energy of the Ark surges forth, killing the entire contingent. Tote and Dietrich's faces melt as they scream in horror. Bellic himself explodes. The energy mass surges high into the night sky, carrying every corpse toward the heavens, before returning to the Ark and sealing it, leaving Indy and Marion drained but freed. Weeks later, Indy and Marcus feud with the army officers back stateside over the whereabouts of the Ark. Indy is angry that the army has no idea what it has in the Ark, though it appears they in fact do understand what they have. However, the Ark is sealed in a wooden crate, stamped with a government serial number on it, and simply wheeled into a large warehouse containing thousands of similar-looking crates. And then at this point, the credits roll. And that's been Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So, Brett, I'm going to let you open here. As I said, this was Brett's first viewing of this film. I've watched this plenty of times. But go ahead and give us some thoughts here. You don't have to jump right into any negatives, but talk about it here for a minute.
I enjoyed it. I think it was a good movie. Harrison Ford is great. He's a stud. Absolute, just like heartthrob. In the scene where we see him teaching his lecture, which I actually did not have any clue that Indiana Jones was like a college professor / adventurer.
Well, he's Dr. Jones.
Yes, so. He is Dr. Jones, which I had no idea going into it. But one of his students in that scene, she blinks she closes her eyes to do a long blink at him while he's teaching, and she has written "Love You" on each of her eyelids.
Yeah, and like that scene, I never really realized it before, and Alyssa said this while we were watching it. Like all the girls in the class are just kind of like gawking,
like slack jawed, just
like googly eyed. Yeah. No homo. Indiana Jones is a really good looking guy.
Absolute stud, especially with those glasses. Whew.
It's the stubble, man. I mean, chicks dig that stubble.
I actually didn't recognize him at first in the opening scene when he had the stubble. I was like, is that Harrison Ford?
Yeah, I thought that was funny in the opening part of the movie, too, that they kind of, like, don't want to show his face yet.
Yeah, it's like this big reveal, even though it's like a new character.
Yeah, I don't particularly understand that, but so generally you did like the movie, though.
No, yeah. Overall, I did have a good time with it. Some other things I wanted to touch on real quick were I really enjoyed Marion's character, like, a lot. she was kind of like well, to bring it back to Uncharted, the biggest comparison I have is she is Indiana Jones' Elena. Yeah. Sort of, this spunky, girl sidekick that, they got a thing going on. Yeah. But I really enjoyed the market scene, just, her running around wide-eyed and then that entire thing of like them getting her, and then it's kind of like Looney Tunes-esque, sort of that chase. Yeah, trying to get her back.
That's something that this movie kind of has, and I never really realized it before. I mean, I knew it had elements of humor, but upon this viewing, you helped me point out that it kind of embraces almost like a cartoonish brand of humor. Now, I like that.
No. I did enjoy it.
And then to bounce back off of Marion, I think that Marion is kind of your run-of-the-mill romantic opposite, but she tries her best to be really headstrong and like doesn't need Indy. And I think that
there are portions where she really holds her own against
I think they wanted to flesh her out more in that way, but it just didn't happen. For the final product of this film, because there's some times where, and I even said, whenever the whole plane sequence is happening, there's times where she holds her own, but also she creates a lot of issues that Indy's got to clean up.
It's basically her fault that entire thing explodes.
Yeah.
Because she's the one that shoots the fuel station, which causes the gas leak.
Yeah, like not to say, hey, go be a damsel not in distress, but like just chill out and let Indy go do his thing. But I agree.
I did really like their dynamic, though.
Yeah. They had, I thought the chemistry was pretty realistic, too. But then again, some of that might just be because Harrison Ford, what woman's not going to have chemistry with Harrison Ford? I mean, he's a stud. So, like you said. But, to bounce off of some of that, like I said, I've seen this movie a ton of times, and it's a classic, an absolute classic. It kind of put action-adventure, globe-trekking protagonists on the map. It had been done previous to this movie, but not at such a big scale. And, like Brett said, bringing up the Uncharted movies, and before we recorded this podcast, I've talked a lot about how big of a fan I am of 1999's The Mummy. Mm-hmm. And, Brendan Fraser's character, Rick O'Connell, in that film is super, super inspired by Indiana Jones. So I really have a soft spot in my heart for these kind of goofy action adventure protagonist hero types in movies like this. Some of the things I got jotted down, and I know you do too. This movie had a PG rating.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. We mentioned a few times in the synopsis a character death. He finds the guy in the opening dead after he betrays him, who, by the way, was played by Alfred Molina.
Yeah, that's right, it was.
Mr. Doc Ock himself.
Yeah, a young Alfred Molina.
Yes, very young. It took me a while to actually see Alfred Molina in Alfred Molina.
Yeah.
But, we talked about him, and then the guy with the propeller and the plane.
Yeah.
Soda Popinski. But, we mentioned those, and you might be thinking, you think PG-13. It's like, oh, no, sorry, just PG.
PG.
You think PG, and it's like, oh, they don't show it. These are like graphic, like slasher level, like deaths.
At the end of the movie, whenever the Ark is opened and the like triad of villains die at the end, whenever it says that Tote and Dietrich's faces melt, I mean,
they melt.
It's pretty brutal, man.
we watch them melt.
Whenever I was young and I first saw this, that shit scared me. I hated that scene.
And I will say, for 1981, obviously things were different. They hadn't completely PG-13 didn't exist.
Yeah.
The reason this movie was PG is because they had G, PG, R, and then NC-17. So they for what they had at the time, it had to be PG because PG-13 wasn't a thing. It's funny to think about. This movie was marketed to kids, and then we get to see Alfred Molina with his face skewered through.
Yeah, I understand
Gold chainsaw to Alfred Molina.
I understand that they wanted this to be PG because a big targeted audience of this is kids. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's just kind of mind blowing that the ratings system or whatever passed that. I mean, not that I dislike it or anything. I like my movies to have some violence in them, but I'm just pretty surprised, really.
Yeah, no, it's definitely wild to think about.
We should do a favorite death like we did from Scream.
Yeah.
It is pretty wild though. I wonder when PG-13 was first invented.
I'm not sure. I just know that it wasn't around for a while. I think it was like early 2000s.
PG-13 had to have been around in the 90s.
I'll look it up. Hold on. Give me a second.
Okay, you do that and I'll ramble a little bit here. That was one thing I wanted to touch base on. Also, I also really enjoy in any type of pop culture aspect whenever, not just movies, but like video games or comic books or anything has occult Nazis as the villains. As I've stated in the past, I'm a big time fan of Hellboy, and all throughout Hellboy, the entire series and the movies and everything, the villains are like Nazis obsessed with like resurrecting demons and shit, and I love that. And also, I believe in the first Uncharted, was there Nazi villains?
I don't think they were like explicitly Nazis. In the first Uncharted, you fight pirates.
Okay. But also like Jungle Cruise, there's Nazi villains.
There's Nazis in Jungle Cruise.
Obsessed with the occult. So I really like that. I guess it's kind of a trope nowadays, but it's one I enjoy. And I really, really love John Williams' score in this movie. Not just Indy's iconic theme, but just the entire score throughout. It's really good. He sets a good pace with any action happening. And also, there's a couple scenes where there's just some dialogue to progress the story. And the score that accompanies it is just really, I don't want to say helps throttle it forward, but it keeps you paying attention to what they're saying. But with that said, I'm going to break into a little bit of some negative here, and something I never really paid attention to before, and I'll let you elaborate on this, but this movie does have it has a major issue with pacing.
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
A definite major pacing issue. Not to backpedal too far, but I did bring up when PG-13 came out, and it was July 1st of 1984. So only 3 years after this movie came out. I mean, obviously, I could look into it, but I'm going to see... No way!
What?
I was just about to say, I'm not going to say Indiana Jones contributed to making things PG-13.
Did it really?
Oh, it's listed as one of the reasons. No, Temple of Doom did still come out under a PG rating.
Shit.
But the rating board cited movies like Indiana Jones as the reason for creating the PG-13.
So, like, I know before we started recording this, I already told you Temple of Doom is probably my favorite in the franchise. And it's known as, like, the darkest one out of all four of them. There's legit a scene where, like, a witch doctor rips a dude's heart out of his chest and it's still beating in his hand. So
is that the one where they eat the monkey brains?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's a scene where a guy gets ripped to pieces by an alligator. It's pretty violent.
Yeah, it's still released under the PG rating.
That's crazy.
And to touch on the score real quick, because I had one thing to say about that. There's a lot of points in the movie, in the score, which are just like slight variations on Indy's main theme.
Yeah.
So when he's doing his like action stuff, it's just like full blaring, just his da 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 da. You know, but that
sounded so good.
Thank you. But during slower scenes of like, you know, just to note exactly when he's in his house, you know, gearing up to go on the trip, talking to Michael.
No, not Michael. It's Marcus.
The establishing shot of his house, and then through their conversation, like you were saying, it's a slower,
that's the
more
scene that
peaceful,
made me write it down.
Yeah, more peaceful version of his main theme. And then one that I noticed and I thought was really funny is during his fight with the big burly guy in the airplane. His theme starts to play as he spins around the plane's wheel to like dodge it, and then the big guy walks into frame, and then the theme trails off with like out of key notes. Like it's just been interrupted by, you know, we thought he was about to triumph, and then big guy's still here, and so his theme sort of distorts itself. And I just thought that was a really cool touch.
I jumped through that real quick when I read the synopsis about that fight scene, but I do just want to jump back again and just say I do really, really like that fight scene. It's in my opinion, it's a pretty realistic mano-a-mano punching scene. You can tell neither of these guys really have like extensive combat training other than just boxing. Just I'm going to punch you and you're going to punch me until one of us falls down. But to jump back forward where we were,
take it back too far.
No, you're good. But to get back to where we were with the negative as far as pacing, you want to elaborate just a little bit there?
Yeah. The movie is an hour and 55 minutes long, which is a decent length for a movie. But things just happen very quickly and without a lot of explanation. And I'm not saying they need to like sit down and like walk us through step by step what's going on, but there were a few parts where things were just happening so fast and just like in such a quick succession that I was kind of a little confused as to, where we were and why we were here and sort of what's going on with that. Because it just jumps from thing to thing to thing, just like very linearly.
That's another one of our...
It's a very hard to say word.
We're going to start keeping track of all the words that probably aren't actual words, but they are on this podcast.
Yeah.
And that is added to that catalog. But yeah, just to elaborate some on what you're saying there as far as the pacing, I feel like this movie, and I'm sad to be saying this because I've talked this movie up all my life, but the movie just, I feel like the opening quarter of this movie is really enthralling and starts off with a bang, and I think it does a pretty good job of introducing us to our protagonists, our antagonists, and what the MacGuffin of the film is, being the Ark. But then after that, when they get to Egypt, it kind of rushes a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Just to get them to the next action set piece. And then the next action set piece, the plane fight, and then the big badass truck chase scene, they're awesome. But once again, there's a lot that's rushed prior to that. And then even to close out the film, it's rushed explaining anything about the Ark.
Yeah, the ending, I think the ending might be I really didn't like the ending.
Yeah.
It might be my least favorite part about the movie. Because, we spend this whole movie and we're going after this Ark. And then they just put it in a box. And then it cuts to this like warehouse. And I think the implication, me and Hunter were talking about, he was sort of explaining, his take on things to me. I think the implication is like, oh, the military is putting it away and we're just not going to think about it,
Yeah.
Use it for another day or like for their own gain. But they don't with this, they rush through that, There's one conversation that Indy has with the board and they're just like, oh, we have our guys researching it. And Indy's just like, oh, bummer. And then he leaves and then it cuts to them putting it in the warehouse and it just didn't really click with me. I didn't get it. I wasn't satisfied with it at all. And it was just kind of weird.
One thing I don't really enjoy about this ending, and I never have, there is no triumphant battle sequence. There isn't any mano-a-mano, bad guy, good guy thing that happens for Indy to overcome at the end of the film. It's just basically everybody dies except Indy, and then the end. Yeah. Indy and Marion, that is. And then... like you were saying, we don't know what the government does with the Ark. And even when I Googled it afterwards, there's really not any explanations. There's theories like the one you just stated. Also, something I've heard in the past is people just speculate that it's supposed to be lost to time, as they touch base on a couple other things throughout this movie. But it's pretty vague and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere in the rest of the franchise either. So that's definitely another negative to the film. Something I never paid attention to in the past, and viewing it as just something to review, I see it now as a flaw, and it makes me sad that I see it. But we're here to do God's work and make this goddamn review, and I have to point it out.
The secret 11th commandment: thou shalt create real rendezvous.
Yeah, that's the one that the Nazis saw, and then their faces melted.
That's why their faces melted.
Yeah, they couldn't hack it with the real rendezvous crew.
They couldn't comprehend it at the time.
But one other little tidbit negative, and I'm not going to knock this too bad because, for God's sake, it came out in 1981. Is the CGI green screen that we have in this film. Now, there's not a lot of it, but when it is there, it is kind of it's just not that good. Yeah, like we talked while we were watching it. Star Wars came out like 4 years before this, and is better. Yeah, and this came from the same studio, so no excuses on the special effects. But with that said, I think it makes up for it a lot with the stunt work and the actual physical effects that happen throughout this film. And also, this movie is shot in... a lot of it was filmed and shot in Tunisia. This is like the fourth time I've said this country and I can't pronounce it.
I'm going to roll with Tunisia.
But I love that, though. It gives it, and you can see it and tell, it gives it that real aspect to it. Instead of it being filmed on a stage somewhere with green screen.
Yeah. And speaking on how it's filmed, the cinematography itself, just like the way shots are framed and
like you were saying with lighting and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's two scenes in particular that the lighting is just gorgeous. The first one is they're in the bar, is when he's in the bar to talk to Marion about the amulet. There's a shot where they're at the bar, like the bar in the bar, talking to each other, and
like we're at the bar right now.
Yeah, we filmed this at a bar in Hunter's basement. It's very nice. Got a lot of stickers and football cards on it.
Anyways, Marion's bar. Didn't mean to get you there.
But the bottles of liquor that are on the shelves, there's light coming through them, and so Indy and Marion are sort of bathed in this very warm. The color palette of the movie is very warm overall. Lots of browns, oranges, reds, and so they're bathed in this orange and red light. And then the second scene, again with this warm color palette, is there's a silhouette scene when they're showing us the excavation site. Of all the workers with their pickaxes, it's like at sunset, and it's like they're in the foreground all silhouetted out, and then the sky is. I knocked my mic. I'm getting excited. And the sky is like this.
You're like
gorgeous,
such a hand talker.
I am. I talk with my
and
hands a lot.
then when you get excited, you start yelling.
My bad.
No, you're good. Keep going.
But the sky
the
is
excitement.
just this gorgeous orange color, and then they really caught me.
We finally get something positive out of Brett on Indiana Jones.
I told you I liked it.
I'm making jokes. To bounce off of what you're saying there with the cinematography, first off, I think that whole bar set piece is awesome.
Yeah,
and I love whenever Tote is first introduced in this bar. We watched this on a Blu-ray that I have, and it looked really good. As Brett said, you can really see like the warm colors of the fire in the bar. And Tote has like at one point when he's trying to torture Marion, he has a what do you call that?
Fire poker.
A thing to stoke the fire. A stoker or a poker?
I guess it could be both.
A metal stick.
Yeah, it's a metal stick that you use on fires.
And he pulls it out of the fireplace, and it's glowing red, and he's holding it between Marion and his face, threatening to burn her with it. And you can see the steam on his glasses and the sweat on his face, and so it just looks great on the Blu-ray. And also, I guess that was a real prop since my man was sweating holding it that close to his face. But
not as bad as he was sweating at the end, though.
Yeah. With the face melt.
They did that. I don't know if you knew this. They did that effect with they had a wax model of his head, and then they did each layer of wax is like the reds.
I wanted to say that it was something shot in reverse, but then I was like, well, why would it be in reverse whenever it just melts like normal?
Yeah, no, it's just a wax head, and then they just literally melt it, and then they speed up the footage of it melting. I wish I'd have looked up. Happening faster.
I wish I'd have looked up who done the like not special effects, but the like makeup. Or, when I say special effects, I'm talking about like any death scene makeup or anything like that. Practical effects, right? Yeah, the practical effects. I think that's all positive as far as cinematography and everything. I guess I'll jump into my rating here before you. This movie's iconic. I said that about Scream too.
Lots of iconic movies here on the show.
I promise not every movie we review is iconic. Maybe I need to look up a synonym for iconic, get more creative.
Groundbreaking.
When I listened back to our Scream podcast, I realized whenever I read the synopsis, I used the term "at this point" probably about 20 times.
I say,
yeah,
like so, and not just in that episode. This is how I talk.
Yeah,
but I
We're still trying to work out some kinks. We'll get better. Bear with us, guys. But at the same time, me and Brett started this just because we thought it'd be fun, and we're just going to be ourselves. So, regardless, this movie is a classic. It is super influential for not just other movies that are action adventure globetrotters, That's my own personal term. But video games, comic books, any other type of pop culture that you can consume something like this, if it came out after 1981, it stole shit from Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And I know you were saying watching it, there's so many little things that you were like, that's where that came from.
Yeah, definitely.
But with that said, viewing it in this light, it definitely struggles to capture the right pace, and some of the exposition and dialogue is good, but other points where it needs to explain more, it doesn't. And if it did, it was so quick that I didn't notice it. And I guess that's just something that when I was younger watching this movie, I didn't really care so much for.
Yeah.
So with all that said, this is still a pretty good movie. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And then for my final thoughts, slightly overrated, but still infinitely rewatchable. So, which is why I bought it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So, Brett, go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, I did enjoy it. I had a good time watching the movie. Really, the pacing was the biggest issue that I had with it. And another thing that this is on me, but it wasn't exactly what I expected it to be. When you hear about it, it's like, oh, it's what the Uncharted games are influenced by and all this stuff. So I expected a bit more, a grander in scope, like adventure, like seeing more of the process, but really It was just like they went to the place where the Ark is and more then they got the Ark. So, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's like a huge detracting factor, because that's just what I went into it like in my head with no prior knowledge. But overall, I gave it a 7. I gave it a 7 out of 10. And I don't quite agree with Hunter's infinitely rewatchable. I don't think I would watch it again. Just like if I had like a list of movies to pick from and it was on there, it probably wouldn't pop into my head as like, oh, I'm going to watch this one. But that it's still a good movie. And I would still, if you haven't seen it, I'd still say check it out.
Yeah.
Just for nothing else, just to see where a lot of the stuff that, this other media took from it, just to see where that came from originally.
Yeah. I can't bust your chops too much for giving it a 7 out of 10. And me and Brett were talking before we hit record. I wouldn't have got mad at him for even giving it like a 6 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10 or anything, just because he's a different age demographic. He's 10 years younger than me. And it's almost like a lot of the things this film introduced have been soured. Maybe not soured's the right word, but watered down through time. So, but I'm glad he could still find redeeming qualities in it and enjoy it. But I stand by my statement of infinitely rewatchable, because I think Harrison Ford is one of the best like leading men in any movie that you could ever put a leading man in. He just has like a great charisma. Yeah. And that from him as Han Solo and, also Indiana Jones. Yeah. So, but 8 out of 10 for me, 7 out of 10 for you. I think we're going to have to work on finding movies that we're a little bit more polarized on. It's funny because I wanted to say that like we were polarized on this movie, but we still are only like one grade score away from each other. Yeah. So, with time, that will come. Other than that, Brad, anything else you want to touch base on with Raiders of the Lost Ark?
No, I got nothing left for him.
All right, then. Well, with that said, we are Real Rendezvous. Check us out on the socials, Twitter and Instagram. Brett, do you want to jump in there with our Twitter and Instagram handle?
Oh, yeah. You can find us on Twitter at Real Rendezvous, just straight up. And then you can find us on Instagram at Real_Rendezvous_pod.
I tossed that to Brett because he handles the socials. So if something gets posted on there and you're upset about it, you blame him, not me.
You were going to be my fall guy.
I'm just kidding. We're a team. We're in this together. But yeah, hit us up on the socials. Let us know you listened. whatever platform you've listened on. If it's an option to leave a review, leave us one. If it's a good one, don't leave us a negative one. If you do, we'll delete you from existence.
We will not do that. That was a lie.
Oh yeah, we
A
will.
fabrication.
Doesn't exist. But with that said, tune in next time, and we are Real Rendezvous Podcast with Hunter and Brett.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening. Hey, wait. Stop the music. Can we stop the music, please? Can we get that stopped? Thank you so much. Hey, guys. Sorry to barge in like this, but I wanted to touch on a few things here in the post-production stage of the episode. Some of you may have noticed, if you have ears, that I sound particularly poo-poo garbage in this episode. I'm very echoey in most of it, and I'm pretty sure I know why. You know, part of it's where we record and where I sit, and then another big part of it is I get a little too excited and I forget that we're supposed to be talking into microphones. So I will work on that. It's way worse in this episode than it has been in any of the other ones, and I am sorry for that. I really hope that doesn't detract from your enjoyment of it too much. That's why I wanted to put this at the end instead of in the beginning, because, you know, I don't want to come out and be like, hey, I sound bad, don't listen. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. I hope it wasn't too big of an issue. I'm going to work on it, and we'll get that sorted out. But I also wanted to let you guys know that our YouTube is up. Nothing crazy. It's just another place for you to go and listen. All the episodes should be up right now over on the YouTube. The YouTube is just The Real Rendezvous, all one word. All the episodes, including this one, should be live by the time you're hearing this. I got a nice little backdrop, and our socials are on there. It's fun, but that about covers it. So you can go over there, leave us some comments. You know, if some people you know that you think would like the show don't have Spotify or Apple Podcast or whatever, and they just prefer YouTube, you can send them over there. All that jazz. But I just wanted to come in and apologize for my audio in this one. But I hope you enjoyed the episode anyway. And I wanted to let you know about the YouTube. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for your support so far. Things are going great, and we really appreciate you guys, you know, giving us your time and your attention. And we will keep it up for you. Hunter's not here. I'm recording this in my bedroom, but I'm sure he shares the same sentiments. But yeah, so that's all for now. We'll catch you in the next episode, which may or may not be a recently released movie. Recently, as of today. But I don't want to give too much away yet. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you made it this far, thank you so much. All that. Follow the socials. Catch us on YouTube. I'm going to bring the music back in. You can hit play. No, you can hit play. No, I'm done. We're good. You can, just roll the rest of the track. Just like from where you cut it, roll the rest of the track. Yeah, okay. This bit's going on too long? Yeah, no, I completely agree. Okay, just hit I know it's a metaphor. Just start the music.